Welcome back, beautiful people. This is another episode of An Untold Narrative where we host artists, creators, designers, and anybody who's has a creative passion and is putting it out there in the world. We want to talk to them. And today's guest is somebody who I've been admiring for such a long time from the distance. Primarily, we met on Clubhouse a few years ago, and we've just been silently supporting each other's work. And I figured it was finally time to break the ice and have him on. Maclin is on the Beyonce train where he only has one name. Dude, how are you? Where are you? How are you feeling right now?
I'm good, man. That was a joke. You're not supposed to say that. Although Queen Bee is the best of all time. Um, I'm good. I'm good. I forgot we met on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that part. That was a long time ago, man. Pandemic days, just wasting away getting involved on audio chat rooms.
Yep, sitting in those artist rooms and just talking about what people were working on, and then you dig a little deeper, you find their Instagram, you go to their website, and your work was definitely something that stood out to me, and so I'm really happy that after those few years we stayed connected. Um, I
Yeah.
do want to talk about, we're gonna just get it right into it and talk about your artwork as a whole. Like, are you an artist full time? You're a videographer, you're a photographer, you're an artist. You've had, I would consider it success in a lot of those fields. Like, where do you start with like what you do?
Just by saying I'm an artist. That's usually like when people ask, "What do you do?" I say I'm an artist. And then they say, "Oh, what kind of art?" And the joke, but I really do say it to everyone, is, "What do you need?" Because I've grown up doing all of the things: photo, video, writing, digital things, social media slash graphic design, website development, like everything that is required of a young creative person in this day and age.
Mm. What? Why do you think deep down you do all of those things, or you have interests in all of those things? Because I think if you look at your Instagram, just for example, and you see your beautiful paintings, you're like, oh man, this guy can really create art. Why don't you just stay in that lane instead of just branching out to a zillion different things?
The short answer is that I just love all of them. I love to put paint on a canvas and watch it evolve into this thing that I get to hang on my wall. But I've had a camera in my hand since I was 12 years old, and I just don't feel right putting it down. Um, then when it comes to, the more digital stuff, it's friends or family or businesses in need that I see easy ways to improve their ability to get business. And it's like, why would I not do that? Why would I not take that trade, a couple
Mm,
dollars for something that I can build in a week, which might take them a month or 2 months, and they're going to do it poorly. So, I mean, got to pay the bill somehow. The art doesn't always fly off the walls like we all wish it does, but there's always there's always some creative opportunity in any of those avenues, and when they come up, I like to take them. But also, I just had a conversation about this the other day, which was kind of insightful for my own life, which is that as I go through like various stages of emotions, whether that's happy, elated, or melancholy, depressed, I use different mediums to express myself because they carry with them some different level of medicine, I guess.
hmm How did okay, how did you discover that? Because that is really powerful what you just said of like, and I found this through my artwork as well. Like, it really fluctuates based on my emotion and what I paint. Like, when I was going through
Hmm.
a phase of my life where I was, trying to figure out my personal life of dating and stuff like that, and I would find myself painting a lot of black and white silhouettes of females because like I couldn't,
Mm.
yeah, I like just couldn't figure out how to like connect with them. And so I was using my artwork to just paint them. And I thought that was really fascinating. But like for you, you have different mediums. So you have art, you have
Hmm.
videography, you have cameras. And how does that affect? Like, how do you discover that?
I discovered it by looking back at, all of these creative periods of my life and recognizing kind of where I was at those times and then seeing it happen in a cycle. And like for example, I'm not making music right now, and I haven't made music for a long time. And what I found is that music production tends to come when I'm like at my ultimate highest, free flowing, everything's going well. I feel like I have the time to kind of sit and play and have fun there. Um, but I haven't been making any. So I guess I'm not in that happy, elated state, but I'm not all the way there, you know? um, but yeah, it changes for all of us. I mean, you had this desire probably to connect with someone, right? So you knew that this certain creation style is going to help you do that. Was
Hmm.
this like people that you knew and you wanted to connect with them, or you were like unsure of the woman that you're trying to create for your life, so you're just painting silhouettes of women?
For sure, the latter. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So that's kind of hard because then you're having like this faceless person and it's just so amorphous of who she might be, which is fun. It's a nice mystery.
Yeah. No, it was
Um,
it was a really cool process for me, and that's kind of why I'm really interested in how you approach it. And I do think, or I think this, but I'm curious as to your opinion of like, do you think that creators' emotions fluctuate more because a lot of what we create, it's triggered by emotions or certain past experiences?
mhm. That 100%, of course. That's like the job of the artist is to feel emotions and then feel them again, and deeper than anyone else might ever be able to accomplish. It's a noble approach and pursuit to take these things that we're feeling so personally and then be vulnerable enough to share them with the world. Um, Maybe as a way so that others don't have to go through it, or this can be a totem or a guidepost for them when they come along that thing. But I know for myself, when it comes time to write poetry, or whatever is on my mind, like oftentimes I'll have to dig into the moments that have shaped me to pull out some sense of profound emotion or a state of mind that's altered by these extreme experiences in order to get into that zone, which is that's uncomfortable. I don't want to be there all the time, you know, but it is those emotions that like make us make these things.
Mm, yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely can appreciate that. And you mentioned poetry, and I was going to bring this up, so I'm so happy that you did. You have your own poetry book available on Amazon, and
Yep.
you feature something. I'm gonna butcher this. Oh, that you have it right there.
Yeah.
You frame it as like a way of connecting, feelings through art in the earth, or through God in the earth, or something along that. So I apologize for butchering it, but like
Are you talking about
expand
like
on.
the tagline of the book?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm curious as to like what, yeah, everybody has emotions, everybody's thinking things. Is this just your way of publishing exactly how you're feeling and just getting it out there? Like was there a purpose, was there a goal in launching a book? Like that's such a big deal, for a lot of people. And
Hmm.
you found this really significant, when I read about it, I was like, holy shit, like I'm gonna order this immediately because I resonate with it. But like it felt very intentional and purposeful. So like I'm curious as to like how you would describe that process.
Definitely intentional. The book is titled Providence, and the tagline or definition um, that I've chosen is the foreseeing care and guidance of God or nature over the beings of earth.
Mm,
And that is my attempt to rationalize or explain some sort of higher power's influence on us. And a lot of this book stems from kind of my younger years of asking a lot of questions of life and wandering and traveling and not knowing where I'm going or what I'm doing, but always having a fascination and appreciation for the little moments that have a bit more significance behind them. So it's really collected works of a young man pursuing the like threads that are frayed in the fabric of the universe, trying to pull it apart. Um, but really simple little anecdotes about life, living, love, um, pursuing creativity, and then some more outlandish questions about like the nature of reality and the what actually forms this plane of existence that we're experiencing.
Wow. Okay. And I want to deep a little bit or dig a little deeper because I'm going to guess, I don't know your exact age. I'm going to guess we're around the same age. And so like when we were growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, like it was not cool for a guy to start doing poetry or share their feelings.
Yeah.
And here you are as a creator putting out a book on poetry around feelings and questioning things. What gave you the confidence to do this? Because anybody that I would, if I ever told somebody this is what I was gonna do, I think people would scratch their heads. And so like I'm curious as to like what gave you the confidence to do something like this when it's so against the grain of like what we were taught to think?
Um, well, the what we were taught to think part is different for everybody. And it might not fit within the like hyper masculine ideology that we're like the counterculture is trying to fight away from the more gentle type man in today's day. But what really gave me the confidence was from a young age, probably I remember sitting in my junior year of high school math class writing rap lyrics with my friend Carl. Um, and then eventually that evolved into like me continuing that practice of writing rap music and like freestyling in the car with my friends any chance I could get, getting really really good at it, being able to think quickly with words, and tell stories on the fly over a beat, and then continuing to pursue that over. I mean, I still make music to this day, but um, just knowing that the things I was writing were interesting stories that were written well and could flow over music. So I have, thousands of attempts at writing a song, and from that, I've kind of developed this little notebook that I carry around with me, and I'm just always writing my thoughts down. It's kind of hard to see, but I've just always been. I think Tim Ferriss talks about it. I don't know the exact word, but I just like to write. I like to put
Hmm.
words down. And because I carry a little notepad, I had to start writing shorter and shorter things, which made it look more like poetry as opposed to music. Um, so as the collection of these thoughts grew, I realized that, once I think I had like 1,500 pieces of paper with some sort of writing on it, that I should probably just edit it down and put it in a book because I know the best thoughts will shine through and they might help people realize that there's another way to look at the world, just a different perspective that's been thought about, written down, and published, which is what all authors are trying to do.
Yeah. How there's got to be something really also special about when you dilute something down to fit on a small piece of paper like that, like simplifying your thought, right? Like extracting the
Hmm.
words that you don't need to like still relay the same message. I actually think probably does you a lot in terms of like your mindset and the framework of life in general, because instead of like all these extra words that like a lot of us use, you've now figured out a way to dilute it because of the parameter that you gave yourself.
Exactly. And it's not a dilution, it's a concentration. Um, it definitely requires, that simplification, saying more with less, choosing each word particularly, and making sure that the overall idea is still being conveyed. But, sometimes it can be too simple and it doesn't perfectly capture the essence. So you got to go a little bit longer. But I love that challenge. If you can,
Mm.
why use many words when few does good or whatever that is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I picked up on it, and I think that's really fascinating. You did mention offline that you were starting a second book, and so is it similar
Mhm.
or is it different? Are you in a different chapter of your life and that's kind of what you want to express. I've also heard people talk about how like your first book is never like your best and like it's always a good thing
Mm.
to just put it out there because your next one will get better and better and better. And so are you kind of at that stage? Like what's the main difference between the two?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't want to say too much. It's definitely around like similar ideas, but maybe a bit more pessimistic. I think the overall tone of Providence is positive. I think the tone of the next one, I don't know if pessimistic is the right word, but what comes to mind is like curt or like direct of harsh truths or realities that are uncomfortable today. Um, but the format of it will be so shockingly different than anything that exists right now. And I really can't. It's so annoying. I want to share it, but I just can't do that yet. But the format will be very different than anything that exists, and there's a strong reasoning why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. That's related to principles of physics and like light in general. So I contemplate light as a concept often. I think there's so much there, especially when it comes to making art or taking pictures, which is literally like a capturing of light, a
Mm.
fantastic thing. Um, so there's a lot of elements of that in there, and it is connected to the first book. There are some things that shine through on this that will find their way into that one, but um,
I dude, I don't know you super well, but I want to ask like you're very thoughtful and, articulate with the way that you want to present words and your ideas. And so I'm curious as to like was there like an event in your life or multiple events in your life that like changed your perspective to think differently? Like you do think differently than like most people and I'd even say
mhm.
most creators. And so I'm curious as to like where has your perspective been most built from? Is it a youthful trauma, or is it an experience in high school or college, or where do you think it like comes from?
Um, I've asked myself that same question. I don't exactly know when I would have started to care to be so specific about what I'm talking about, but um, I grew up in a pretty unique place here in Ohio. There's an island chain, and I spent like all my summers living on an island, so a very open, free, creative life out there, having fun, kind of I love the word isolation
Mm.
because it's a separation from everything else. So I know that's given me a unique perspective. I went to Montessori school as a young kid. Are you familiar with
Now,
Montessori
what is
school?
that?
The Montessori is a um, type of schooling system that allows the student to kind of work at their own desire around different stations that are set up around the school. Um, and there's an educator that will help the student, but the student will pursue their thing. So there's a math table, a geography table, a words table, whatever. So I know that's influenced kind of how I bounce around between things. I literally switch stations and context switch all the time. Um, so that had an impact, and then as far as just the general creativity or my perspective on things, I'm not really sure. I think I might have just been born with way of thinking about things is very different. And I've continued to train that and do all of the things that are in all the books that they recommend. The War on Art, The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron, all the great philosophers and um, like artist routines. I don't know if you've ever heard this book. I don't. It just like gives every artist's routine. I just like tried all those. I did all the things that all these people did so I could kind of embody what these great creators did and learn from them in any way I could. So I think that shines through somehow.
Yeah, just a relentless pursuit of figuring out what works for you. And
Hmm.
just learning from the past to influence the future, I think is really powerful. And I don't think people try enough of that, right? Like, hey, like, you read something in a book, or a book is recommended, and you read this chapter and it's really powerful, but then nobody actions that. And it sounds like you'll read something, you'll find something that's really interesting, and then you'll action it and figure out if it'll work for you or not.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it's worth trying. At least worth trying once. Like that's how I got into meditation and yoga and all these. Like I think they're amazing for you. Some people think they're silly or stupid, but I tried meditation one time. I realized I could get into a profound, deep mental state, and from then on, I've carried that with me from a young age. So perhaps that's another thing to consider. That I was in high school, I discovered meditation, and since then, I've spent a lot of time meditating.
Yeah, so you caught it on the early train before it was like popular on every single podcast to talk about meditating.
Sure, but it's always been popular, and meditation is like an ancient
Mm.
science and practice. They've known about it for so long. I just I can't believe more people don't do it, and I'm not going to sit here and try to advocate for it like everybody else, but everybody's got to meditate. Just go do it. Go sit down, put your phone away for 30 minutes and close your eyes. Like
Well,
that's it.
that's the thing, man. It's like I struggle with that too, right? It's like this attention. It's like we're always like grasping for something to fill our time instead of just like,
Hmm.
it's part of the reason why I like doing this is because I don't look at my phone. I'm like I'm here with you, and like we're having a conversation, and there's nothing else distracting me. And I think that's why, like,
Hmm.
partially why I really enjoy doing this. Um, I do want to loop back a couple minutes, use the word isolation. And
Hmm.
immediately when you said that, my mind went to a painting that you did for Machine Gun Kelly, because
Hmm.
of the way that it's constructed and the way that the artwork's framed, of like these people in a sea of people, or these figures or these silhouettes in a sea of people. And I remember when you shared it, I was like I remember my body just like had a bunch of chills running down it, because it's like it was so powerful, because it's like that's how reality is. It's like you are just one in a sea of millions and millions and millions of people, and nobody really knows what's going on inside you. And that painting really spoke volumes. And I think it's in, like, yeah, I don't know if it's a bakery or a coffee shop that he owns or something like that. Like, I wanted to just give you your flowers on that, but then secondarily, like, have you
Like,
talk about that. Like, obviously he's from Ohio as well. Like, is that how the connection was
mhm.
made? Like, just talk about the art, or the relationship, if you want.
Sure. So that style, that painting is called Weeple. This is kind of an example of it. This one
For
has
the
two people in the middle.
Go
Might be a
watch
little
on
hard to
YouTube
see.
so you can see him holding up a framed piece of art there.
Yeah, it's on my page. It's easy to find. But for the MGK one, I was contacted by my friend Jacqueline, who's an amazing producer here in Cleveland, event producer, and she said that they were doing this big thing for MGK Fest, and they were looking for artists, and was wondering if I could create some sort of statement piece for that celebration. And of course, I said yes. And this idea came up to paint a giant version of this type of painting. And it's a 4 foot by 6 foot horizontal piece that took me all of 8 hours to make at the MGK Fest. So I got to, have everybody come up and see it and watch the progress as it was going on. And if you know anything about MGK, he loves the color pink, uses that frequently. So the crowd is just silhouetted black figures that resemble people. They don't really look like people. They're just single brushstrokes that I had to use my finger to paint on this one because it was taking so long. I literally was finger painting for 8 hours, which is a huge critique of my work, actually. I gotten a lot of critiques saying it looks like finger painting or that a kid could do it, which I appreciate because I do use my fingers. They're the best tools ever. They're so good. They're so good. And I'm glad I have 10 of them. But uh, yeah, so I finished the painting. And as the day was ending, MGK was performing on stage. So I shouldered it up and walked around the entire festival with this giant painting. Walked right up to him after he was finishing the show, and he got off the stage. We got a nice picture of that moment. But I do know him from being around Cleveland or being in Los Angeles. We have plenty of friends of friends, and um, yeah, he was so kind enough to purchase the painting, and we split the proceeds. So half of it went to the charities that they were supporting that day, and then I,
Super cool.
of course, got the other half. But um, the painting ended up at the 27 Club coffee shop in downtown Cleveland, and I think it's currently being framed. We're still working on that part, but yeah, it's such a cool thing with a person who really inspires me, and then I got to make this awesome piece that was directly iconic of him because I know in his world he feels alone often, which is what we all do. I think that your perspective was so beautiful because um, it is your own, and to know that you feel the same way as everyone else that is thinking kind of a similar thing, that I'm so alone on all these people, even though I know I'm here with everyone. Um, it rings true to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, also part of the reason, I haven't publicly shared this, so anybody listening is getting a first insight, but like I've been doing or am doing this year. I'm confidently saying that I'm doing it because I already have a booked gig. I'm doing a public keynote entitled The Art of Being Alone, and the process
Oh,
that
amazing.
we all go through of spending time alone, how we're in a loneliness
Mhm.
epidemic, and tactics and thoughts of like how you can elevate creativity in those times, but also like how to potentially structure and frame your life to help support you get through those moments. So it is something that's really powerful, and means a lot to me. And so like I definitely resonate with a lot of that same mindset and framework, and definitely things that I've struggled with in the past. Um, you did mention also like how your emotions are constantly going and they're relating to your creativity. Is there a certain emotion you're feeling in 2024, like present day? Like I know we spent some time talking about your past and
Mhm.
things like that, but like present day right now or the rest of 2024, how are you feeling? What are you super stoked about? What are you not stoked about? Like, what are you going through? Like I just want to like kind of get a pulse on like your creative right
Mhm.
now.
Two words that are really big for me right now. First one is expansion. It is a carried over emotion from 2023, but towards the end of 2023, so we're gonna take it. Um, I I want to continue to do things just bigger and bigger and bigger, which I'm working on a huge painting right now. I tried to show you earlier, it's just too big to to pick up. But um I love big. I love big ideas. I love working with a lot of people. I have been working solo for a long time because it is sometimes easier to be alone. But I want to expand my operation. I want to bring more people in. I want help. I want to help them. I want to do that kind of thing. And then definitely 2024 related concept idea is faith. I really am pursuing what that means on multiple different levels. I just took a trip to Miami where I don't want to say I was testing faith, but I was doing a science experiment, which I guess would be testing. So um, I was operating from a place that going to Miami, booking the flight on Thursday to fly there on Saturday with no hotel plans, with no clue how it was going to work out. Um, was going to work out. And guess what? It did. I met amazing people. I met an art dealer, two art dealers randomly. I met amazing photographers, hotel managers that I'm trying to work with for some photography stuff. And it just, I set my mission and then I trusted that it was going to work out. And I put in a lot of legwork to, get to those places, but it did. It totally worked. And I want to continue to I don't want to say throw caution to the wind, but I want to shoot for the stars and know wholeheartedly that it's going to work.
What do you think was the biggest test there? Because when you say that, it sounds like a spontaneous trip to Miami to me. But it sounds like there was probably pre-calculated thoughts or intent behind it. But like, What do you think deep down you were actually testing?
That I was gonna take the leap of faith and I would be caught. Or I would grow wings on the way down. Um, I knew I was there a month and a half ago, and I just fell in love with sitting on the beach and looking or staying at these nice hotels. I'm not staying at these hotels. I was staying with a friend that day, but I happened to go to the beach that was next to the Ritz Carlton or one of these hotels. I can't remember, but
Sure.
um, I walked in. I took a bunch of pictures. The pictures were beautiful, and I realized then and there that I could be a creative tradesman and offer these photos, hopefully in return for a stay. So the idea with this most recent trip to Miami was that I was going to go down there. I was going to meet these hotel managers, the people that could put me in position to be able to leave Cleveland in the winter and trade my photography for stays at these hotels. And literally creative trades. I don't know if that works, bartering, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But um, I know I want to do that. I know I want to figure out how to make it happen. And there's only one way that I'm going to really talk to these people and show them what I'm capable of and who I am as a person. So took the chance, spent some money that probably shouldn't have been spending, and I made some amazing connections that might make that dream become a reality sooner than I expected.
I really want to expand on this thought of creative bartering or creative trading, because I think about this all the time. Like, why can't I walk into a grocery store and tell them, "Hey, I'm going to pay you $2 for these strawberries instead of 2.99. Do you want the sale or not?" Like, I think about
You
this
can.
all. Like, I think about it
No,
all the
you
time.
can. I'll trade I've been known to trade poetry for coffee or like little drawings for a coffee or a sandwich. Like it's not that hard. I think a smile goes a long way with that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Um, when you get to the bigger ticket items, you have to really come with a good trade. So like coffee or food or some sort of like maybe clothing or whatever it is, like those trades are there. And if you now we're in a weird time where you can have a platform and then you can get attention, which is attention is the new currency. We know this. So if you can trade attention, aka currency, for object, that's valuable. That's valuable to whoever is trying to make the sale or expand their business.
Dude, I want to just talk about this specific subject for the next hour, but like,
We
I'm
can,
like
we
so
can.
like I don't think people do that. Like, I don't think anybody, like, have I like been
No,
oblivious?
they don't, which is why
I've
I
definitely
don't
like
understand. People should do it.
yeah, I've definitely subconsciously done that, right? I've definitely traded attention or visibility for products, whether it's my friend seating me shoes or whatever it is. Like, yeah, it's
Mhm.
happened like subconsciously, but like you're clearly conscious about it. You booked an entire trip to exchange photography for stay, which is so fascinating, especially in these places where Miami hotels are not cheap, but you're like, hey, I'm going to
Mhm.
give you these beautiful photographs. Alls you need, you have these empty rooms anyway. Like, I'm a decent human being. Like, there's really no
Yeah.
loss to you. Like, holy shit, like what else can people like push the limits on, or the normalcies behind it? Like, because it's not even pushing the limits. It's a pretty normal conversation and transaction. It's not normal. It's different.
It's been done for forever. I do believe that the trades, like the jobs that are called the trades, probably arrived from people trading these things. I'm a carpenter. I'll trade you for your stonemasonry so we can work together and you can build me a house and I can build you a house. But now there's kind of this new element to it, which comes from creativity, um, whether that's media or digital services, you name it. Like it is this new form of trade work, and the word is trade. So yeah, as long as your offer is good and like you said, being a decent human being and like if I was a scumbag and I walked up in there and I said, "Hey, give me a room, and maybe I'll give you some pictures," that's not going to work. But I have a portfolio and I have a good presentation, and when I meet people, talk to them, shake their hand, look them in the eye, all the things that, of course, we know to do. And it is challenging, and not everyone's up for it. But the people that know the value of, high quality imagery, or a 60-second reel like that, it can go so far. It can go so far. So why not take the chance, or why not, it's not, everything's not a gamble, but if there's somebody to take a chance on, it's going to be me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. So, and if they don't want to take the chance, I'll go on to the next person, and there's plenty of hotels in South Beach. I'll make it happen, you know?
I'm so ecstatic around your confidence in these things, because it's like we're so strung on the fear of failure so much around like these days, and like just doesn't feel like you feel that, because like the thought of just like diluting it down to there's another hotel that I can have the same opportunity at. I don't need to be here if they're not going to give me the shot.
Mhm.
It's so simple, but there, that barrier is what stops so many of us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, if I didn't have the skills I have and the camera equipment that I have, and, these certain things, maybe I wouldn't be so confident. If I just had like an iPhone, I think I'd have a hard time. But, over time, I've collected my tool belt, my skill set, and there's definitely a bit of like brazen wild man nature in me that just says, I'm gonna go be a cowboy and make it happen. Um, so I don't know. I do think that there's so many things that are more possible than we believe them to be. Money isn't always the answer, and just on like a future forward thinking perspective, as more and more jobs are kind of relieved of their significance or requirements, humans are going to have to figure out a way to work together, give people value that we all require in our day to day lives. And that might come from creativity or skill work or that kind of thing. And money itself is in a unique state with all the debt we have, plus this new age of cryptocurrencies and everything. So, what even is it? But I can tell you that if I knew a farmer and he could give me a basket of food every day, and I could trade him for some, like, I make his website so he can help sell his food, that'd be a good deal. I would take that trade all day.
That is, on paper, that sounds like an amazing deal. Um,
Just that's one specific instance, but there's so many more iterations of this which are possible if we're willing to say, hey, I have this skill, I have this ability. What do you have? Let's make it happen. This is barter. Again, this has been done for ages. It's not like a new concept. It's just people forgot about it because we think we have to pay for everything.
mm, wow, I really hope people extract a lot out of this. I'm gonna, for the rest of today and the rest of the week, probably I'm gonna start thinking about what else can I trade on a day to day basis.
Yeah. Try to trade
What
something for a coffee. See, start there. That works. That's easy.
I listened to this interview recently of a CIA agent, and there's a test that the CIA program goes through, and they're basically like, you have to get X for free, and one of the tests is getting a coffee for free, but you can't like, there's like certain parameters and stuff. So a lot of times it comes with a smile, or doing the conversation correctly to get somebody to. It's very similar to what you just expressed. Um, Maclin, I want to understand something after hearing you talk now for the better part of 40 minutes. What do you think people misunderstand about you the most? Like, because you're probably like on this great artist, you're a poet, you're you know I don't know, like just seem like a really good person, like you have this confidence. Like, what are people not getting about you, or that you don't necessarily show people?
That's a hard question to answer. Um, I would say maybe it's my ability to teach these kinds of things.
Mm,
And the unique moments that I've seen um, from a young age watching two of my best friends grow up to be global superstars and all of the ins and outs of this creative world plus this new age of digital media. Um, I think what I want people to understand is that there's so much that I have learned and want to share with everyone. So, but it's personal. It happens like in middle moments that we're not expecting, and it's not something you can really prepare for. Um, so I'm trying to figure out how to use that knowledge or like put it to make it more available, whether that's some sort of coaching thing or whatever. But um, I think I think that I don't know. Is that the short answer would be maybe I'm misunderstood as a teacher of these things.
Mm, I think that's great. I think there's obviously, I think you'll definitely agree with this, is like when when you are in service of others, like life in general does tend to be better because you're,
Hmm.
helping other people, you're less selfish, you're, teaching people, and then you're vice versa, you learn from them as you teach as well. And I think that's really special. And so I think it's cool. I think it's exciting if you're going to venture off into teaching different things, from past learnings, in the future, at least.
Yeah, because I mean that's the best way to lift yourself up is by lifting someone else up. Like I think about all the young kids that have asked me stuff, or not that I like mentor mentee kind of thing. There's a couple people in my life that if I would have had the information I had when I was their age, I would have been so much further ahead. So the fact that I can give it to them and help make their lives so much easier and not have to go down the paths that I went, or just look at things from a different way that a young mind maybe can't see, feels so good because I feel like I'm helping someone avoid catastrophe or fires when it can really just be smooth sailing. Um, so I love it. I get such a thrill out of watching someone grow and change their ability and how they can like, oh, just it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, I always go back to, like, I wish I started like volunteering and doing things a lot earlier in my life versus like the past few
Mhm.
years, because like it is so enthralling and it gives you like purpose, and you see people light up when you do share something that you've learned or a bit of wisdom, and then they go and apply that in a completely different way than you even anticipated it to be applied, and then it
Mhm.
inspires you back, and I think there's something really, really special about that. As we wrap up, I always like to ask people, if there's one thing that always grounds you or like roots you when you're like struggling, or you're kind of in a weird creative place, or do you have a personal saying or a piece of advice that you like kind of always go back to, or that you always like to share, with everybody? I just wanted to give you a moment or two to share, because I think every time I ask the question, I've gotten a different response. It's not always like, things get better, or some cheesy thing. Like, everybody always has a really unique perspective, so I wanted to see if you always root yourself back to a specific piece of advice.
Yes, definitely. I have a saying and a practice.
Okay.
The saying is, I am a tree. The things I need will come to me. And to put it plainly, a tree lives its entire life in one spot. I mean, some trees might move based on natural things, but for the most part, most trees are planted in the ground from the time they're a seed. They grow up tall and strong, based on the resources that are found in that exact spot. Um, that analogy extends into many different branches. So I encourage people to look at their lives from the perspective of a tree. But then the practice is to take my cell phone, put it on the table, walk out of the door of my home, and go for a long, uninterrupted walk to do nothing other than be outside and moving. And that without fail is something that always gets the energies within me moving and allows me time for just myself, um, to be out in the world, but feeling controlled, centered, and without any sort of distraction, but still being active and taking the time to contemplate, clear up, and hopefully relinquish any negative things or to further gain positive things as I return back into the world, or I guess home. And yeah.
Something as simple as leaving your phone at home and just going for a walk. It's so it's barbaric almost. It's like, why would you do that? But I mean, I personally couldn't agree more. I think there is something really, really special about, it's part of the reason, we were talking a little bit before, but like it's part of the reason why I like running is because like I have to look at the things around me. And even when I run on
Mhm.
a treadmill, I try not to use headphones and I just try to like let my mind wander, and just like grow and adapt and pick up on things like from earlier in the week and why did I like that or why did I not like that,
Yeah.
or why did that piss me off, or and just really just explore things versus the constant interruption. And so your practice of just leaving your phone at home and just taking a walk down the street, I mean, that sounds so uncommon.
It really is. And it's surprising that it's that simple. But that is my form of active meditation. Yours is running. Everybody has that one thing, but cell phones will have their own effects on us over time. I'm trying to mitigate that significantly, which is why I have the notepad. I literally
Mm.
had this so I make these notepads. And I do sell them if anyone wants one. You can get them on my website. There's a link on all my stuff. But um, it's so it's so valuable to not be caught up in everything else.
I think that's a tremendous way to wrap up this episode, man. I want you brought it up. I want you to give yourself a little bit of love. And where could people buy the book? Where could people buy the notepad? Where could people learn more about your artwork or anything that you do?
Sure. Start with Instagram at Maclin, Maclin. The book is available on Amazon. It's called Providence. And I do have signed copies available through my website, which is mind.sx. And all, like I said, all those links are on my website or on my Instagram. Find it easily. Hey, man, thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation. I love pulling these old thoughts out, and I hope they reach the audience. And
Yeah, for sure.
it's
I definitely think you're going to inspire a few creatives who do listen to this, and I'm really stoked that we got to get to know each other a little bit more, and I'm inspired by your work and what you're doing, and can't wait for book number two. And like I said, I'm for sure a purchaser of Providence right after this chat ends. So, thanks for taking the time, dude. I'm stoked. I'm really thankful that you joined us today.
Oh yeah, me too, bro. Let's do it again soon.